You're so dumb. Can't you do this more efficiently? It's frustrating just watching you. The harassment from my sister-in-law Michelle escalated day by day. It even started to interfere with my work from home. But I didn't break. Because there was a job I desperately wanted to complete. My name is Amanda Smith, 29 years old. Working as a contract employee for a certain company, I live modestly with my dad, taking over the household chores to relieve my busy dad. He raced through life without a break, raising a daughter on his own. Gradually, I wanted to ease his burden a bit. When I was still in elementary school, Dad placed his large hand on my head and said, "You don't have to try so hard with the housework. Use your time as you like. That makes me happier." Dad was always kind and generous, no matter how tired he was. Secretly, I wished for his happiness. I hope Dad will find great happiness someday. This small wish came true a few years ago. Dad's new wife was named Barbara. Barbara, with her daughter Michelle, moved into the house where Dad and I lived. Barbara was honest and kind-hearted, a wonderful woman. In contrast, her daughter Michelle was prideful and cunning. It didn't take long for Michelle, initially quiet and reserved, to show her true colors. That day, as usual, I prepared lunch for Dad and sent him off to work. Barbara was away on a business trip since yesterday. Michelle, a college student, should have had lectures today. I decided to prepare her lunch before she woke up. Even with 4 in the family, I still managed all the household chores. Working from home, I had some flexibility. And I didn't mind cleaning or cooking. It was a nice break from work, refreshing my mind. Barbara, now my stepmother, said, "I feel bad having you do everything." But I assured her I enjoyed it. By the time I set breakfast for Michelle and me on the table, I heard her coming down the stairs. Groggy, Michelle entered the living room, and I greeted her. "Good morning. Breakfast is ready. Your lunch is on the table too, feel free to take it." Michelle paused and said, "I'm not going to college today." "Huh? But your calendar said you had lectures." "They were rescheduled later. I updated the calendar. Didn't you see it?" "Ah, sorry. Haven't checked yet." In our house, where lifestyles greatly differ, we decided to write down schedules on a shared calendar. I'm still not used to this new habit and sometimes forget to check. Michelle sighed heavily and muttered, "You're really clumsy," before returning to her room. I didn't take her words too seriously, assuming she was just cranky from waking up. 2 weeks passed since then. After days of relentless rain, it finally cleared up on a sunny Saturday morning. Feeling refreshed, I was hanging laundry when I sensed Michelle, who had slept in, getting up. But something was noisy. She rushed from the bathroom to the upstairs, then hurried back down, looking around the living room. "Hey, where's my skirt?" Michelle's demanding tone was suddenly directed at me. "Skirt? If you mean the one in the laundry basket yesterday, I'm about to hang it." "No. The one I asked you to wash separately 2 days ago. I told you at dinner, remember?" "Oh, that one. It had a small tear, so I decided to mend it before washing separately. I finished mending it last night and it's in the washer now." "What? Didn't you listen to me? I said I needed it washed early because I'm wearing it today. Are you even listening?" I was at a loss for words. Indeed, she had asked to wash that long skirt separately. But I wasn't informed she needed it today. I recalled our conversation from 2 nights ago. "I want to wear it next Saturday, so please wash it by then." "Next, as in next week?" Yeah. Don't make me repeat myself." Michelle ended the conversation abruptly, playing with her phone. That's when the misunderstanding occurred. And it was Michelle who hadn't listened properly. Though I had no reason to be blamed, I didn't want to argue and said, "Sorry. I misunderstood the date." But Michelle, standing before me, glared with a disdainful look. Think an apology solves everything? This is why I hate dumb people. Having a high school graduate sister, it's just unbearable. Can't even manage household stuff properly. Michelle attends an elite university, known nationwide. Our worlds are different. Yet, I had hoped we'd get along, now that we were family. Just to be clear, I never thought of you as family from the start. Michelle said mockingly, with a disturbing smile. Seeing that expression, I felt an eerie chill. From that day, Michelle's disdain towards me became more apparent in her actions. When I worked from home, loud music blared from Michelle's room. Not just disrupting my work, but loud enough to be a nuisance to the neighbors. Could you lower the volume a bit? The neighbors might complain. I asked timidly, but she retorted. What? Don't boss me around. I'm annoyed by the typing sounds from your room. She slammed the door in my face. On another day, Michelle brought friends home and said loudly, "Isn't it embarrassing having a high school graduate sister who can't even get a decent job? I wish she'd move out soon." One of her friends, leaving, jokingly said to my door, "Sorry for disturbing. Michelle feels sorry for you, so please move out soon, okay?" Her friends laughed as they passed my room. These harassments always happened when our parents were away. In front of Dad and Barbara, Michelle played the role of a good sister, eerily amiable towards me. Before long, Michelle graduated from university and secured a job at a major corporation. Within a year, she got engaged to her company's superior. By then, I had moved out to live alone, freeing myself from daily harassments and gradually regaining a peaceful life. One day, an invitation to Michelle's wedding arrived. The ceremony was to be held overseas. Sighing, I placed the invitation on a nearby table. About 3 months later, I boarded a plane from Los Angeles International Airport to France. Since moving out, I had become distant from my family. I was worried about Dad, but Barbara was with him. Without me in that house, Michelle wouldn't cause trouble. To preserve Dad's happiness, I wanted to avoid family conflicts. It was better to keep my distance from Michelle and minimize visits to my family home. To Dad and Barbara, I said I moved out to focus on my career. Despite the suddenness, they respected my decision, telling me, "Don't worry about home, just do what you think is right. Yes, you should pursue what you want. It's a once-in-a-lifetime chance," they said with a smile. It's true Michelle's actions affected my work. But that wasn't the only reason I left. I felt it was time to confront my own life and take a new step. On the night before Michelle's wedding, in my hotel room, checking the dress and belongings for the next day, my phone rang. Michelle's name appeared on the screen. A bad feeling washed over me. Hesitantly, I answered the phone. It was Michelle's voice after several months. "Hey, long time no see. Where are you right now?" In a hotel in Paris." There was a brief pause in the conversation. Then, laughter erupted from the other end. "Really went, huh? Are you stupid? How crazy can you be?" "What do you mean?" "The overseas wedding was a lie. Fooled you as expected. I'll send the real invitation later, okay? By the way, if you don't show up, I'll ruin something very dear to you." The call ended there. I sat weakly on the bed. Michelle had played a cruel trick on me. And she might be planning another scheme. Additionally, Michelle said, Moreover, she threatened to ruin what's most important to me if I didn't attend. Such an act could harm not just me but Dad and Barbara as well. Michelle could easily do something like that. The peace I had regained seemed to crumble in my mind. As long as Michelle and I are family, this situation will continue. I have no choice but to meekly follow Michelle's actions. Always. Then my thoughts abruptly stopped. Why did I leave home? Wasn't it to fully pursue what I wanted? I haven't achieved anything yet. Instead of feeling weak, I should work to change this situation. Even someone like me can find a way to stand up to Michelle. I rose from the bed and reached for the curtains by the window. Outside the glass, the Parisian night unfolded. Life is strange. Sometimes, when wandering in the dark, the path forward is illuminated and becomes clear. This was one of those moments. I closed the curtains, turned off the light, and slid into bed. The earlier anxiety had vanished, replaced by a soothing drowsiness. I closed my eyes slowly. Eventually, I spent about a week in France, taking the opportunity to enjoy sightseeing before returning home. Recharged, I returned to the US and threw myself into work. Forgetting to eat and sleep, I spent days glued to my computer. My mind ran at full speed, devouring documents and typing furiously. After 2 months of this lifestyle, I visited a specific place. Walking down the main street in front of the station, I entered one of the buildings. Exiting the elevator on the 3rd floor, I knocked on the first door down the hall. A soft female voice invited me in from inside. In my tote bag was a thick file at home. Inside was a large amount of copy paper that I had printed out at home. I intended to hand these to someone. As I touched the doorknob, a wave of nervousness made my fingers tremble. It's okay. I've done everything I could. Now, it was up to fate. I calmed myself down and quietly stepped into the room. On the day of Michelle's wedding, I had called the venue to inform them of my absence. Michelle probably thought I underestimated her, that high school graduate fool. Prideful Michelle, always needing to feel superior. But now I understood. Michelle lacked something vital. Something I possessed, but she did not. A knock on the dressing room door, and a man peeked in. "Excuse me, it's almost time. Are you ready?" "Yes, I'm ready. I'll be right out." I picked up a Western book from beside me and left the room. At the same time, Michelle's wedding reception was underway. Stephen, her husband, was the son of a corporate president. Among the guests were some notable figures, and Michelle was inwardly proud. While everyone enjoyed the grand food and friends' performances, a man discreetly approached Stephen. After whispering something, Stephen said to Michelle, "Amanda isn't coming today. She appeared on TV, did you know?" Michelle was taken aback, clueless. Looking towards the guests, she noticed some commotion among Stephen's invitees. It was also streamed online, seems to be quite a topic. A colleague from Michelle's company, nearby, was heard speaking on her phone. "I've read this book too. Just released last month and already going for a reprint. It's a foreign sci-fi novel. The author passed away long ago. But it turns out it's written by a globally renowned scientist," someone started saying online. Another colleague at the same table mentioned, "That's the one that's been trending on social media recently, right? It's got futuristic, predictive scenes, and a friend told me it's interesting." A translator named Amanda Smith. "She was on a show today at noon." "Amanda Smith, isn't that Michelle's SIL's name?" Hearing this, Michelle immediately opened her mobile phone. A search on her timeline brought up my name. The top article read, "Historic scientist's posthumous work discovered?" Interview with translator Amanda Smith on her encounter with the book. The wedding venue was already buzzing with this news. Amid the commotion, the ceremony soon concluded. After changing in the dressing room, Michelle stepped into the hallway to see her parents and Stephen. Along with Stephen's parents, in a tense atmosphere. Such an embarrassment, being the subject of harassment. We were clueless, and now we don't even know how to respond to inquiries from acquaintances, said Daniel, Stephen's father and the head of a major corporation, in a stern tone. I've dined with Michelle numerous times, but she never once mentioned her SIL, Amanda. Are they on bad terms? I value family bonds, you know. I was lenient because Stephen seemed smitten, but I hear some women at the company don't think highly of Michelle. Do you think I know nothing? Finally, Daniel added. You better make this right. Call Amanda immediately, arrange for me to meet her directly. If you can't reach Amanda, consider this marriage null and void. Undoing a marriage was easy for someone like Daniel. If the marriage were called off after such a grand ceremony, it would severely tarnish Michelle's reputation. She'd be too embarrassed to face her colleagues. And her friends would surely ridicule her. Michelle, pale-faced, frantically pulled out her mobile phone. First call. No answer from Amanda. Second call. Only the hollow ring. Fifth call. The number you are trying to reach is not answering. An automated voice responded. Maybe she's blocked you, her father suggested. No way! Amanda must just be busy, Michelle defended. Skipping a wedding on the day itself is not normal, unless there's an accident or illness. Especially for family. I don't want to invite more trouble into my home. A woman like you, prone to problems, is clearly not suitable for our family, Daniel concluded. But the ceremony is already over. Stephen, don't just stand there, say something. Michelle looked at Stephen with her characteristic pleading eyes. But Stephen turned away, refusing to look at her. At that moment, Michelle realized something. Her parents, standing behind her, were silent, just observing. They could have defended their daughter but hadn't said a word. Mom, it's not my fault, right? Tell them it's not my fault. Barbara smiled ruefully and said, Actually, I got a call from Amanda yesterday. She said she couldn't make it to the wedding for some reasons. It's a long story, but you'll understand soon. It might be inconvenient for both of you, but she asked for forgiveness just this once. It's a big moment in her life. That's what Amanda said. What do you mean? You knew about today? You knew and didn't tell me. Yes, exactly. If I had told you, you would have interfered, right? After all the trouble you've caused Amanda, you never learn. Really, you're impossible. I've failed as a mother. Michelle listened with a defiant expression. We thought if you experienced some hardship, you'd understand. So Dad and I discussed it and, as bad as we felt for Amanda, we decided to turn a blind eye. It seems this is a family matter. We, as outsiders, should leave, someone interjected. Wait, please! We're not done here. I'll bring Amanda, I promise. Please reconsider, Daniel. I don't want to be addressed by my name by you. Do you want to anger me further? Even Michelle fell silent under Daniel's stern gaze. This time, she had picked the wrong battle. She watched, dazed, as Stephen and his parents walked away. Michelle, tasting her biggest defeat, finally realized her emptiness. After successfully appearing on the TV show, I was dining with an acquaintance. A French dinner at a luxurious hotel. Across from me sat Pamela, a dignified, calm elderly lady. I chose this place to celebrate. I wonder if a more casual setting would have been better. No, I'm really grateful. It's my first time dining somewhere like this, so I'm a bit nervous. I like your honesty. Just be yourself. I don't like formalities either. Enjoy the meal to the fullest. Pamela's titles included French literature researcher, translator, and translation school lecturer. She was also my mentor. I once found an old Western book among Mom's belongings. Dad said its origin was unknown. It appeared to be a novel written in French. There were notes throughout, indicating Mom had read it repeatedly. I remembered how Mom hummed foreign songs while cooking or doing laundry. It happened before I could remember, so I don't remember it clearly. Could those lyrics have been in French? I started reading the book bit by bit, translating with a dictionary, and got absorbed in its world. I became enchanted with the French language. I devoured French books and translated my favorites. I was so engrossed that I lost track of time. After becoming a working adult, I started attending translation school during nights and weekends. One of my teachers, impressed by my language skills, introduced me to translation work. I was delighted to take it on, especially since it could be done from home. Around the same time, Dad decided to remarry. Even with the increased family size, my work wasn't affected, except for the issues with Michelle. I was surprised when you handed me a thick manuscript. Your translation skills were professional level, and the novel had a unique worldview. I had been translating for years, but I was never quite satisfied with my work. It took a long time, but completing it helped me grow mentally. Yes, translation is a battle with oneself. Each completed work feels like shedding a skin. It's fascinating. I agree. That's why I can't stop. Pamela smiled warmly upon hearing my words. It's a blessing to have something you want to pursue passionately in life. When I returned home after a long time, Barbara greeted me. Dad was still busy with work. Coming home late as usual. I heard footsteps coming down from upstairs. Ah, finally awake. Michelle, you have a part-time job today. After the wedding cancellation and leaving her job, Michelle seemed to have been staying home. Barbara had told her. How long will you sulk? Do you want to live miserably like this forever? If you don't want to start over, you better leave this house. Worried about being kicked out, Michelle reluctantly started looking for part-time work and settled on a grocery store clerk position. As Michelle passed by the living room, she glanced at me awkwardly and hurried out the door. Amanda, you're going overseas for work, right? You said something about a potential contract with a new author. Yes, it looks like it's going to be finalized. But they want to meet in person. That's great. I'm relieved to hear your translation work is going well. Take care, and I'm looking forward to the souvenirs. Barbara's innocent smile made me smile too. Continuing to do what I love is enough for me. I thought it was that simple. My ability to become a translator was because I maintained a pure heart. It's a gift from Mom in heaven. A talent to enjoy life to the fullest. On my way back from my parents' house, I passed by a dogwood tree. Stopping to look, I saw many buds waiting to bloom. Surely, I'm just getting started too. Blooming one flower at a time, I'll continue on my path. As the gentle spring breeze blew, I started walking again. Ma'am, are you really married? Excuse me? What do you mean? I had hired a private investigator for a certain investigation. From the report of that investigator, I heard an unexpected fact that left me unable to hide my shock. If my husband has been exploiting my frequent night shifts to have a sweet affair, I will never forgive him. My name is Rachel. I am a nurse at a general hospital and a working wife who is about to celebrate her first Christmas since getting married. My husband Daniel, whom I married half a year ago, is a very gentle man who is 5 years older than me. We met at a social gathering, and we hit it off because we had the same last name. We got married as we entered our 4th year of dating. Daniel's parents had already passed away, and he said he had no relatives, so we ended with a photo wedding instead of having a wedding ceremony. Daniel is an area manager of a retail store. He basically works at a branch, but he also goes on business trips to the head office and visits various stores. I don't have any children yet, and I thought I should earn money when I can, so I mainly take night shifts. Thanks to that, I can relax on my days off after night shifts, and I think I have more days off than other jobs because a night shift counts as 2 days of work. Daniel's job did not have fixed days off, so he often adjusted to match my days off. We enjoyed our newlywed life by going on mini trips and dates. One day, when I came home from a night shift, Daniel, who should have already gone to work, was at home. I'm home. Huh? Daniel, you're not off today, are you? When I asked with curiosity, Daniel opened his mouth with great difficulty and said, well, you see. I have a sudden business trip from tomorrow, and it might be a bit long, so they suddenly gave me the day off today. I see. How long will you be gone? About a week, I think. It might be a little longer, but I won't know until I get there. All right, work hard. I was saddened by the sudden and lengthy business trip. I had a rare consecutive holiday the day after tomorrow, and I was looking forward to spending a slow evening with Daniel. But if it's for work, I had no choice but to switch gears, and I decided to drive Daniel to the airport. It takes about 2 hours by car to the airport. And it takes about 2 hours by plane to the head office in New York. After seeing off Daniel at the airport, I strolled around the airport, which I rarely visit, had lunch at a famous nearby cafe, and returned home. Exhausted, I sprawled out on the sofa, where I spotted an unfamiliar envelope tucked under the TV stand. It must have been something that Daniel, who was supposed to be on a business trip to the head office, had left behind. Feeling a little guilty, I checked inside. Inside was an album filled with pictures of Daniel, an unknown woman, and a little girl, maybe around 5 years old. In front of a kindergarten classroom, dressed in a school uniform. What on earth is this? My mind went blank. Could it be an affair? And with a single mother, unforgivable. Infidelity! The word floated into my mind, and before I knew it, I found myself calling Daniel's office. I mentioned that I knew Daniel, made up a reason, and asked if he was on his trip. To my shock, they told me that Daniel was on bereavement leave. What's more, I was informed that there were hardly any business trips from their branch to the head office. What was going on? Daniel had told me he was away on business, but he was on bereavement leave? I hadn't heard anything about it. He was lying to get time off work, just to meet with the woman and the child in these photos. That was the only conclusion I could come to. I started looking for a detective agency. I decided on one, planning to visit the next day. But all the while, I couldn't shake the realization that in the 4 years we'd been dating, Daniel had been lying to me about these non-existent business trips. A profound emptiness washed over me. Perhaps I was exhausted because at some point I fell asleep. When I woke up, it was already 6 a.m. the next day. I had an appointment at the detective agency at 10 a.m., so I got ready, carefully placing the envelope I'd found yesterday in a larger bag so it wouldn't fold. At the agreed-upon time, I walked through the gates of a detective agency for the first time in my life. The words I had prepared to say flew out of my head the moment I opened the door to the office. The detective waiting for me was a young man who looked to be in his mid-20s and was dressed like a college student. Reading my surprise, he asked with a casual smile, "You think I am an immature-looking detective, don't you?" And managed to lighten the mood. "Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's just This is my first time at a place like this. I'm a bit nervous. I responded on impulse, but he kindly urged me to sit on the sofa. After a little small talk with the detective, I took out the album that had led me to suspect Daniel of infidelity. True to form, the detective started collecting necessary evidence, deftly making copies. He picked up a copy of the picture of the three in front of the school and told me, "This is likely to be a significant clue." The name of the school was clearly visible in the photo. Immediately, the detective searched for the preschool online and made a call. He made the call in a separate room, so I had no idea how he extracted the information, but apparently, the little girl in the photo was a student at that preschool. And, unsurprisingly, that child was currently on a leave of absence from the school. The school was located in New York, so I was told it would be an expensive job, but I agreed. Actually, I had been studying and investing in stocks and forex since adulthood. After becoming a working adult, I started investing with my monthly salary, and I've had some decent returns, so I decided to use that money for the investigation. We'd need to fly to New York, and it was unclear how many days it would take to get evidence, but the biggest humiliation for me was being lied to by my husband. I wanted to grab proof at any cost. That determination drove me. The detective seemed to assume that once Daniel returned here, the little girl would also return to preschool. The next day, I went to work as usual. Of course, I put back the envelope and its contents exactly where they were. Then I got a message from Daniel, who was supposed to be away for a week, saying, "Sorry, my business trip is going to be extended by 3 more days. I'll be back on Sunday." As arranged, I contacted the detective the day Daniel returned home. The detective understood and seemed pumped to start the investigation. The next day, he flew to New York and began his preliminary investigation. That evening, I received a call from the detective revealing an unbelievable fact. During the preliminary investigation, an unexpected situation came to light. "What do you mean?" I was totally confused. "I'll be back tomorrow. Can we meet soon?" "Yes, anytime." Responding like that, I promptly headed to the detective's office after finishing my night shift the next day. "So, was he cheating after all?" To my question, the detective seemed to struggle to give an answer. "No, I think this situation might be even more serious," the detective said with a grave look on his face, which made me swallow my words. "Firstly, it's likely true that your husband has taken a leave of absence for bereavement from his company. However, Mrs., are you sure you're really married to Daniel?" "What? What are you implying? We officially registered our marriage 6 months ago." "In fact, I followed Daniel and your daughter back from her kindergarten in New York and found their home. According to the locals, Daniel has been living alone here for the past 4 years, only returning to New York a few times a year. I heard he stayed for about a week for his father-in-law's funeral in New York." "No way!" I was at a loss for words. "Since you and Daniel originally had the same last name, it's hard to say anything at this stage, but I would suggest you check at the city hall," the detective advised. After expressing my thanks, I made my way straight to the city hall. At the city hall, I obtained a copy of the residency certificate for my entire household. What was written on it, however, was only my name. "No way! There must be some mistake. I got married 6 months ago." I appealed loudly to the female city hall staff member who was helping me in my confusion. The staff member, seeming distressed, said, "Even if you say so, we couldn't find any record of your marriage." But I insisted, pleading with her. "Please check it again. My husband's name is Daniel. Please." To my near tears, the staff member repeatedly apologized with genuine remorse. In the midst of my confusion, I recalled the day I had submitted our marriage registration. Despite it being a workday for me, Daniel insisted that it had to be done on that auspicious day and I had to go alone to the city hall to submit our marriage registration. I never would have imagined that our marriage registration was not submitted. After letting my tears flow, my emotions gradually settled down. I apologized and bowed my head, then left the city hall. All I could think about on my way home from my night shift was how tiring everything had been lately. I fell asleep on the sofa, pondering what to do next. When I woke up, Daniel was in the middle of preparing dinner. Seeing him like this reminded me of the woman and the girl in the photo. I was furious about being deceived, but I realized that if I lost my cool now, I wouldn't be able to take any action, so I was able to suppress my emotions. From that day on, I put on a smile in front of Daniel. About a week after going to the city hall, I had been considering whether I could find out anything about his real wife from Daniel's phone or his surroundings. Daniel tends to be quite forgetful, and it seemed that he accidentally left his house without his smartphone that day. I happened to be off, so I considered delivering it to him, but first, I decided to check his phone. Normally, it's not cool to snoop on someone else's phone, but I couldn't afford such decorum at the time. Considering the state of my mental health, I felt I had no choice. Daniel occasionally unlocks his phone while voicing the passcode, so unlocking it was easy. From there, I found the contact of a woman with the girl's picture he always talked about as an icon. I immediately called this woman. Around the third ring, a calm and elegant woman's voice answered. "Hello? Who is this?" When I asked, "Are you Mrs. Daniel Smith?" the woman's tone turned puzzled. "Yes, I am, but who are you?" "I'm someone Daniel met at his outstation. It's hard for me to say this, but we are living together now." "So there really is a woman at his outstation. I see. I was planning to visit my husband who lives there during the end of the year holidays. Can we talk then?" I didn't expect this turn of events. I gladly accepted such a generous offer. Around that time, Daniel said, "Sorry, but there's a reunion in my hometown this New Year's, so I'm going to go back home." I had been waiting for these words from Daniel. Of course, I immediately agreed. According to what his wife told me, Daniel's hometown is the next town over. I heard both his parents had passed away and he had no relatives, but it turns out both parents are alive and well and still living in the next town. There's only 1 month left until the end of the year. I decided to find a lawyer who specializes in relationships and planned to thoroughly punish Daniel. Until the day of the showdown, I acted as usual with Daniel, but emotionally, it was unbearable. And finally, 1 month later, the day of the showdown arrived. I told Daniel I had a night shift starting the night of the 30th and left the house with a smile, saying, "Take care and Happy New Year." Of course, I explained the situation at work and got a vacation from December 30th to January 2nd. I stayed at a business hotel on the 30th, and on the morning of the 31st, I went to the meeting place with Daniel's wife and saw an elegant woman just like in the photos. Her name is Mary, and she married Daniel 6 years ago, and they have a 5-year-old daughter. After briefly discussing each other, Mary and I began executing the plan. Mary came all the way from New York by plane with her parents and her daughter. Since this isn't a story to tell a young child, she left her daughter with her mother in the hotel room. Together with Mary's father, we were heading to Daniel's family home. It seemed that Mary had spoken to Daniel's parents beforehand, so I was surprised when they bowed deeply to me as soon as they saw me. Then, on the evening of the 31st, as planned, Daniel opened the door to his parents' living room. "I'm home. Welcome back." The one who welcomed Daniel with a smile was not Daniel's parents, nor Mary, but me. Seeing me, Daniel went pale. "Why are you here?" I faced the surprised Daniel and replied with a calm smile. "What's this? Weren't you married to me?" "No, this is." Daniel couldn't move, pale as a ghost. There stood Mary, Mary's father, and Daniel's parents, all present. They all glared at Daniel with stern faces. Mary spoke up quietly. "What's the meaning of this, Daniel? We just had a baby and needed help from our parents, so I asked you to work away from home. But behind our backs, you've been having an affair and leading a double life." Mary spoke so matter-of-factly that for a moment, I felt a chill run down my spine. I'm just glad we're on the same side now. I began to berate him as well. Daniel, every time you said you were going on a business trip, it seems you were meeting with your family. You were married. Why did you approach me? Did you think you could deceive me? This is marriage fraud. You're scum. And when I asked your company about your business trips, they said you hardly ever go on them. What are you thinking with such a beautiful wife and adorable daughter at home? I was such a fool to believe your lies. Confronted by both of us, Daniel sighed, then burst into laughter. I wonder how I was found out. Living a double life was fun, especially with Rachel working well. It was easy to deceive you because we have the same last name, and you mostly work nights, so I could do whatever I wanted. Upon hearing those words, Daniel's mother, who had no recollection of raising such a son, gave him a punch in the face. I looked up at Daniel and said, That's right. Besides me, you had 3 other lovers, didn't you? As I thrust the incriminating photos at him. Startled, Daniel sputtered. What is this? Are you stalking me? I'll sue you. These are all the pieces of evidence gathered by a private investigator I hired because I thought you were having an affair. We're going to make you pay damages to both Mary and me. As I said this with a firm tone, Daniel suddenly collapsed to the floor, begging for mercy. I'm sorry, just spare me the damages. I'll continue my relationship with both of you, just spare me the damages. He cried out. I was speechless with disbelief, but it seemed that he was broke from spending too much on his other lovers. I couldn't care less. I left Daniel's childhood home with the words, I don't even want to speak to you anymore. Let's deal with the rest through our lawyers. After that, I went through my lawyer to file a claim for compensation on the grounds of bigamy. I was grateful to my lawyer when the money was successfully recovered. I felt guilty towards Mary and tried to give her some of the compensation, but she refused. In fact, she was grateful for all the evidence I provided, and we became friends. According to Mary, she collected compensation from Daniel's other girlfriends and broke up with him. Of course, she made sure to get her fair share of alimony and child support. Apparently, one of his mistresses was a colleague of his, and Daniel was demoted at work and sent to a subsidiary company. At the new company, he's apparently being bossed around by a younger employee and cries every day. However, he can't quit his job because he needs the money to pay off the compensation. On the other hand, I moved out of the house I had been living in and rented a place that's just right for living alone, and I'm leading a carefree life. I now visit New York a few times a year and continue to be friends with Mary and her daughter.